Okay guys, this is a video that I've been wanting to do for a while, especially with all the new gun owners out there. This is a quick tutorial on how to field strip and clean a Glock 19. This also goes for the Glock 26, the Glock 27. Pretty much any Glock model out there is going to take down the exact same way. As well as the Smith & Wesson SD VE series. They take down the same exact way as well. Just first and foremost, just want to say that there will be a trigger warning here. It's right there. There's the trigger. So this is your only warning. All right, all jokes aside, the first step in the process and the single most important step is to clear your weapon. So this one is loaded, okay? So I'm going to eject the mag, and then I'm gonna make sure that that weapon is unloaded. So I'm going to double check that chamber, make sure my mag well is empty, and there's nothing in the barrel, okay? And as you can see, this one's a little dusty. Haven't cleaned it in a while. This is my everyday carry, so it does get dirty, it gets linty. So after you unload it, this is why it's so important to unload the weapon and to triple check that the weapon is unloaded, because you are going to point it at the floor and pull the trigger. Okay, now with a Glock, you'll see that the trigger stays back. That's how you know that the firing pin has been released. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my hand, and this works whether you have an optic or not. I'm going to wrap my thumb around the beaver tail assembly here at the back. I'm going to give a slight push back, and then right here on either side of the frame, there's this takedown lever right here. I'm going to push that towards the trigger well, and then just release the slide and push it forward with my thumb. And this comes apart. And then you can go in. I usually like to start with the frame, as you can see if my camera would focus. There is some lint in here. Is it going to stop the firearm from functioning? Probably not. It's a Glock. They run all day, every day, in any condition. But I have this handy little pick tool right here that I'm going to use to get some of that lint out of there. Oh, that's bad. Oh, that's bad. And yes, I will be cleaning up my work area afterwards. Okay, this one's going to need a deep cleaning. No, you don't. Now, this is just a little plastic pick, so it's not going to hurt anything. But we're just going to go through and, get all that pocket lint out of there. And if you'd like, you can also take a can of electronics duster. If you have that, it's basically compressed air that sometimes people clean computers with and whatnot. You can blast it out. You can blast it out with that. So I'm just going to use my breath, just my lung power, and there we go. That's quite a bit better now, right? Now this section right here, the rear end of the trigger bar, also called the cruciform, this is going to be your connector right here, and your trigger spring. These are three very important parts that you definitely want to make sure are clean and free of debris and detritus. So we gave that a quick once over. So we're going to go ahead and set that to the side for right now. Now, the slide is very, very easy to take apart. Very easy. You're just going to hook your finger here, put a little pressure on it, pushing it forward with your finger, and pull it up. And that's your recoil spring. If you have a little bit of sand on here, a little bit of lint like I do, it's not really that big of a deal. You can just blow it off, wipe it off, whatever. Okay, so we're going to set that part to the side. No, do not roll into the lint. And then in order to get the barrel out, we're just going to take our fingers, give it a little push, push up, pull back. And that gets your barrel out. Okay, now we are going to revisit this. You can see the rifling in there. It's a beautiful barrel, isn't it? Even if there is a little lint in there. Okay, so we're going to revisit that in a bit. But first I want to show you guys how to get the firing pin out, which this is going to take pretty much anything as a very, very small pry bar. Like I've got these little micro tweezers that I dropped. All right, so lint. See, that's why it's important to clean. Okay, so we're gonna pull that back until it clicks, and that's the firing pin or the striker actually coming past the safety. You'll hear that click. And if you watch the drop safety here, you'll actually see it pop up when I push back on the firing pin. Boop. What that does is that disallows the firing pin from actually, or the striker from actually hitting the firing cap if you happen to drop the gun. So the only way that this gets pushed in is with this little shark fin right here on the top of the trigger bar. So when your trigger's like this, when your trigger's cocked and ready to rock, that fin actually pushes against this little guy right here. This is your plunger. So we're going to push down on this plunger, right? Which I usually just use my finger for that. Wait, nope, got it wrong. Sorry, forgot I got to pull the firing pin out first. So we're going to take this and we're going to push. And you can use your body as something to push against. So we're going to push that little plastic thing. It should move with a little bit of pressure. Then we're going to take on this back plate and we're going to move that up with our thumb, being very careful to catch this guy right here when we get it the rest of the way out. Okay, if you don't catch that, you will launch it all the way into orbit. I'm kidding, but it's under some decent pressure. So once we get our, let's just call the back plate out of the way, we can pull this spring out, and with that will come our extractor plunger. And then, come on baby, there we go. That's my firing pin. And as you can see, my my sleeve actually came out with it, which this one does that. It does not affect how the weapon fires. It's just sometimes with these aftermarket slides, you know, the stuff's a little out of spec. Okay, so now that the pressure is off of our extractor, I can put some pressure on this plunger and just work this guy right out. Okay, making sure to keep pressure on that plunger as I get my extractor out of the way, because the plunger holds in the extractor and the extractor holds in the plunger. So once that's out of the way, I can slowly release that pressure, grab a hold of my plunger, and flip the slide over. I'm gonna grab it with the tweezers. Flip the slide over. Dadgummit, come on now. Grab her with the tweezers, flip the slide over, just give it a little wiggle, and out she comes. And notice that spring on the bottom of there. Do not want to lose that spring. I mean, they're not exactly expensive. You know, if you go to any gun shop that has any Glock parts, they're usually only a couple of dollars. But, you know, then you have to deal with the inconvenience of not being able to carry your gun until you track down another one. Now you'll notice I've got here a dirty, oily, junk piece of rag. That's actually an old work shirt. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wipe all this out. I'm going to get any leftover lint out of here. Off the back of my slide. I'm not going to wipe down my optic with this rag because it's got oil on it. I don't want to get oil on that glass. So we're going to check, make sure the striker channel is actually clear. And once we're assured of that, we can put the slide to the side for right now. Check the plunger, make sure there's no undue amounts of lint on it. And if there, I mean, there isn't really on this one, but if there is, once again, just kind of wipe it off. Same thing with your extractor. And you can do this in whatever order you want, really. It doesn't have to be the way I'm doing it right now. In fact, I usually start with the barrel, but I'm kind of saving the best for last here. Okay, that's my extractor plunger and spring. And notice that little black plastic cap on there. Make sure you keep that on hand and make sure this all stays together. Because once again, that thing will launch off into the stratosphere, and once it does, well, good luck finding it. Those things are, once again, they're not exactly expensive, but it's just a pain in the butt to lose, because then you have to, you know, go get another one. Because the firearm literally will not function without that. Once again, firing pin, you can, come in now. Take this off, check it, make sure there's no undue lint or anything on it, and we're just gonna set, there we go. I'm gonna set that off there to the side right now. Now, that being said, this does not have to stay on the striker, but it does have to go back in the gun when you're done. Okay, so onto the barrel. You're not gonna need any majorly special tools for this. Bore and mop, and I use this little guy. It's good for pistols. I actually picked it up at Walmart, but it's really handy. Everything is held within here, and I'm going to use these two right here just to give me a little extra length. So I'm going to roll this one right here. I'm going to screw it right here into the cap. Same thing with this one. Okay. And then I'm gonna pull out, which I've had these for about 10 years. They've seen better days, obviously, but they're still kicking and they still do the job. So, and once again, these are fairly inexpensive, you know, a few bucks at best, or at worst rather. All right. So I'm going to take it, and I always go from the chamber side. Just push it through, and then pull it back. I don't know if you saw that piece of lint come out of the barrel, but I did. Oh, there's more. But basically, if there's any kind of unburnt or burnt gunpowder, or lead residue, or copper residue, it's called fouling, that's in your barrel, what this copper brush is going to do is it's going to break all that stuff loose and get it right out of there for you. So we're just going to keep running it through. If you see dust, then keep running it. Okay. Now this copper or brass, or I think it's copper, is too soft to harm the stainless steel that your barrel is made out of. so I would not worry about harming it at all. Copper is actually a very soft metal, and this stainless steel has been heat treated to, I think, 416R. So it's some pretty hard stuff. All right, so now we're gonna get in with the mop, and we're gonna dab a little bit of oil around here. Okay, doesn't have to be a whole lot. Just, you know, a few drops here and there, and you're just gonna coat the inside of that barrel with that oil. And what that's gonna do is protect it from corrosion, because contrary to popular belief, stainless steel does not mean that the steel will not rust. Stainless steel only refers to steel that have a higher chromoly content than carbon steel. Okay, so we are ready for reassembly. Now, what I like to do is go in reverse of the way that I disassembled. So just a quick drop around my plunger. And then that goes into the hole from whence it came. And then the extractor. Once again, a little bit of oil. It's on any side where metal makes contact with metal. And I probably over oil my guns, but at the same time, I've always over oiled and I've never had a problem. So I'd rather run it wet than run it dry. Some people don't like a wet gun. I like a wet gun. So in order to get that back in, we are going to push down on that safety plunger and send that little guy home right there. And it should go home just like that. There we go. Okay. Next, we are going to do the striker, which, same thing. Drops of oil right here along this spring. Just a couple drops, just enough to lube up that spring. Okay. And then we're gonna send that home. There we go. Extractor plunger. Same thing. Little bit of oil. Just a quick drop. You can let it run down if you put a little too much on it like I just did. And that's gonna go right there in its house. And I find a trick that usually helps me is to get the back plate started, and then you go in with whatever you're using for a tool and you put a little bit of pressure on there and you get it started. Same thing right here on the plunger. Oh, are you being stubborn? You are being stubborn, aren't you? There we go. And you'll know when it's home because it'll go click. So that means everything in here is where it's supposed to be. All right, and you can test that by pushing down on your plunger, pushing your firing pin forward. Then you pull your firing pin back, click. You're good to go. Okay, so barrel. Once again, I like to oil a little bit on just the tip. And what that's going to do is ease the load on the barrel and slide when it's time to reciprocate. And then right here at the lockup area, same thing, just a little bit of oil. And that's one of my beard hairs. Okay, so just the same way it came out. It's gonna go forward, down, and then back. You might need to give it a little wiggle to get it in there. So, but you should not have to force it. If you have to force it, something is wrong. Pull it out, realign. Now for the recoil spring, gonna set that in. It should go into that little notch right there, that hole directly below your barrel. Okay, and you're gonna go boop and just push that into. Come on, baby. You'll notice right here, that second ledge down, there's a rounded indent, and what that's for is to grab onto the edge of your recoil spring. So boom, boom, all done. Okay, so that's in. A few drops of, a couple drops of oil down the rail right here. And I like to take my time and let it run down at least about halfway. Okay. Another couple of drops of oil on the other side. Once again, take my time, let it run down about halfway. Okay. And then, oh, I know a lot of people don't like doing this, but once again, metal on metal contact. Okay, and then we're just gonna line up. Just gonna line up our slide with our rails, slide it on back. Same thing with the rear rails. Guns back together. And then you can oh, that's nice and smooth. Nice and smooth. All right, and you just want to kind of work that out, work that oil in there. All right, nice and smooth. All right, so that's the Glock 19, which I understand this isn't actually a Glock, it's a polymer 80, but it's based on a Glock. All Glock guts, yada yada yada. I actually have Glock 17 here. Same thing. Same method of takedown. So we're gonna release the striker, ease back, push down that plunger, and this trigger bar gets hung up on me, so I have to mess with it. So it tears down the exact same internals, just longer barrel, different locking block. But as far as the trigger assembly goes, it's all the exact same. You know what, while we're here, while we've got it apart, get her just a little bit wet. I do use this Hops Elite, Hops number 9. Hops has always been good. Nice and smooth. Nice and smooth. Hops gun oils have always been very good to me, and I've never really used anything else. Like I said, this is a Smith & Wesson SD40 VE. You'll see the same takedown lever, and it's basically the same method to take it apart, just like that. And this one is still wet from when I Cerakoted it. Okay. Oopsies. But either way, little bit of oil, little bit of oil. And these guns get flack because of the trigger, but there's a felt sponge inside the trigger spring right here. And if you keep a little bit of oil on that, I don't know why it works, it just works. It'll actually help smooth out the action of the pistol. I don't know why, it just does. All right. And this one does have the Apex trigger in it with the spring kit and yada yada yada. And tritium sights, ooh, super fun laser. This is kind of the bedside gun. But anyway, I hope you found this video informative and useful. And like, share, subscribe. Let me know in the comments if there's any other type of content you would like me to put out there. I would be more than happy to give you guys what you want to see. Anyway, so until next time, guys, happy shooting.